All right, thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including iTunes. Please do not forget to rate and review us on iTunes. You can say whatever you want to say. Just make sure it's a 5-star review. I am here with Derek Vandygriff, and we're going to talk a little baseball. I know fall camp is about to start, but we are going to talk a little baseball. Ole Miss had a big week in the transfer portal, Derek.
Yeah, and I kind of like you said, I know it's almost football season. I've kind of had a hard time turning the page since Omaha, though. You know, I've kind of sat around. I've got the Grove Bowl recorded. I tried watching it. You know, I got about to halftime and ended up flipping over to the Ole Miss LSU game 2 in Baton Rouge at halftime just so I could watch that again. But I am going to turn the page at some point. I promise I am. But right now I'm still locked into baseball. But yeah, kind of like you said, big week for transfers for Ole Miss. You know, we had holes left at first and right field with Tim Elko and Kevin Graham. And, you know, it kind of looks like we've plugged both of those holes right now with 2 pretty big bats. The first one at first base, Anthony Calarco, the transfer from Northwestern. You know, he's a big left-handed bat, 6'3", 215 pounds. Can really swing it. You know, he's hit 325 with 13 home runs, OPS over 1,000. Playing in a pretty good league in the Big Ten. You know, they really had a good year this year. That entire conference did, and kind of the big thing with him is being the left-handed at bat. It was kind of the thing that kind of hurt Kevin Graham earlier in his career is he wasn't able to hit lefties. You know, his first 2 years in Oxford, and he kind of started figuring it out, and that's when he became such a prolific hitter for us. Anthony's kind of the same way. Against lefties, he hit 281. I only had 1 home run against them, but, you know, if you get up there and you hit 281, that means you can hold your own against them. Just absolutely killed righties, 338, 12 bombs. You know, that's obviously where his power is going to come from when the righty's on the bump. So this is last year of eligibility, and I'm sure us winning the national championship was really attractive to him with only 1 year left, you know, and us having that big hole at first base to fill. And so I'm sure he's going to step in from day one and plug that hole for us. So that's a pretty big get for Mike Bianco and the crew.
Yeah, both of these transfers, neither one of them have played in the postseason before, have they?
No, they hadn't. You know, that's kind of what they look at, if it just kind of leading into Ethan Groff right now, you know, the other big transfer. He's probably going to slide into right field and take Kevin Graham's spot for us. That was one thing he talked about is, you know, he hasn't played in the postseason yet in his entire college career, and that was one of the big things for him is he wanted to go somewhere where he knew he was going to play in the postseason. And, you know, you look at Ole Miss's track record, and that's just what we do year in, year out. We're at the very least playing in regionals, more times than not hosting them. And the Rebels really got a good one here with Ethan. He struggled his first couple of years down in Tulane. Boy, he turned it on this year. 6 foot, 200 pound. Like I said, he's going to play right field for us. And this year he had a real breakout year. He really turned things around. Hit 404, 503 on base percentage. So you're thinking, you know, every other at bat he's at least getting on base, and that's such a big thing when you're talking about getting contributions top to bottom in the lineup. A 12-12 OPS, 9 home runs, 15 doubles. I mean, he could do it all. And he was still very balanced, kind of like we're talking about lefties and righties. Against righties, 391, 7 home runs, and lefties was he just absolutely crushed them. 444 against lefties. I mean, that is absolutely incredible. He had a season cut short this year in Tulane. He went diving into first base and had a thumb injury, and then it put him out for the rest of the year back in late April. But, you know, I'm sure with the time off and all that, you know, he's going to be just fine coming into next year. And the thing with him, he's a fourth-year junior. So, I mean, if he doesn't get what he wants in the draft, you know, you could possibly have him for 2 years out there in the outfield. And that's a real big get when you talk about transfers and stuff. The guy's not going to be here for just 1 year, which he just very well might be. He could get drafted and move on and all. But, you know, there's a possibility he's here for a couple of years. So, that's a big whole field for us out there in right field. And, you know, with him and Anthony coming in, you know, that's 2 holes down. And, you know, you're starting to fill up your spots, and you're seeing how this team's really coming together and shaping up for next year. And, you know, it could be another real good year for the Rebels.
Yeah, indeed. And if you want to know about, like, comparative pitching and everything, Ethan Groff against Mississippi State in their series – that weekend, he went 6 for 9, 2 doubles, 2 bombs, including a walk-off in the 10th inning of a game to win the game. So he had when he was cooking, he was really good.
Yeah, yeah, he was, and couldn't happen to a better team than Mississippi State. He's going to be seeing plenty of them next year. So I'm sure the state fans will recognize that whenever we meet up again. And I look forward to Ethan going out there, instead of going 6 for 9, just go 9 for 9, 6 bombs, and just go ahead and crush them and be done with them.
Yeah, it's very Jake Mangum like numbers there. By the way, I'm having flashbacks. At least he's on our team.
Yeah, we don't talk about Jake Mangum on this podcast, Stephen. Come on, man.
Yeah. I was talking to Stuart Patridge. He was on my show yesterday, and we got to talking about Chris Mangum.
I love Stuart.
Yeah, got to talking about Chris Mangum because I went to high school with Chris, and Jake being his nephew, it kind of was like, how did that happen? How did John let that happen?
Yeah, that's messed up, man. He's got to step in for us right there and go ahead and direct him back on to Oxford, and it would definitely be a little different history right now if that were the case. But Jake was a great player. I know I'm a big Ole Miss fan. I mean, he was absolutely incredible what he did, and he's moving up the ranks right now for the Mets, I believe it is, in the minors. So I'm sure he's going to have a good career. I'm just glad he's not wearing maroon and white anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of baseball and everything going on, we wanted to talk about the transfers, but is there any other news around the Ole Miss baseball program that we need to know about?
Yeah, with these two guys filling holes, we talked about that there's some more holes to be filled, and don't get your hopes up quite yet. But Jackson Ferris hasn't signed with the Cubs yet. He only has till Monday to get it done. I think it's 4:00 Central, 5 Eastern is the deadline on Monday, August 1st. And as of right now, he still hasn't signed. And there was some optimism a few days ago. I was reading some articles that after they had signed Horton, that they had saved enough money to be able to go ahead and get a deal done with Ferris. And, that hadn't quite happened yet. There was a little bit of a cryptic tweet from a Cubs podcast about Jackson Ferris and the Cubs that kind of got me thinking about that. And, there's only a few days left. And, boy, if we can get him to Oxford, I mean, you talk about a real shot in the arm with him and Hunter Elliott top of that rotation, because Jackson Ferris is the kind of guy that's going to step right in. He's going to take over, if not the Friday, then the Saturday role. But either way, you would have him and Hunter Elliott, two big lefties out there starting your SEC series. I mean, and he's the real deal. I mean, he's one of those that could come in and pitch for 2 or 3 years, and by the time he leaves, be one of the best players in Ole Miss history. I mean, his stuff is that good. I know that's kind of high praise when you talk about all the players we've had. I mean, just talk about left-handers, with Nikhazy and Pomeranz and those guys. But Jackson Ferris has all the tools and all the skills, and he could come in, make an immediate impact, and can really give us a shot in the arm, especially after losing Nick Pogue to the undrafted free agent contract that you hardly ever see in MLB anymore. I mean, I just couldn't believe that. But yeah, that would be a fair enough trade-off for me, though. Nick Pogue for Jackson Ferris, give it to me.
So, what is it? Was it 4 or 5 days? It's Monday at about 4:00.
Yeah. Monday at 4:00 Central.
How often do these things kind of go into the waning hours?
Man, I'll go ahead and tell you, back when Drew Pomeranz was drafted by the Indians 3rd overall, I was checking every single day up until the deadline. And at the deadline, he still hadn't signed. And I thought, okay, they hadn't released it yet. And then 30 minutes after the deadline, they still hadn't released it. I thought, man, we're getting Drew Pomeranz back. I mean, how crazy is that? We're getting 3rd overall pick back. He's coming back to Oxford. He's pitching another year. But sure enough, hour and a half, 2 hours later or whatever, they went ahead and released it. So it does come down to the wire a good bit, especially when you have a guy with a number in his head, right? I mean, and with the way the MLB draft is, I know you have slots and all that, and we've talked about it before, but those slots really don't mean anything. All that is a collective pool that you have to spend for the top 10 rounds, I believe it is. And so you got to work and try to save money in other areas so you can go get the guy with the high number in the second round like the Cubs did. That's what they did with Cade Horton. They signed him for $1.something million under slot, I think is what it was. And that's when they thought that they could sign Jackson Ferris, saving that money. But like I said, so far it hasn't happened. And they actually have another guy they haven't signed. He was the 7th or 8th round pick, something like that. and his slot value was 560,000, I think it was, and they said his was higher than the slot value. So they're really having to kind of balance that out to figure out where they can divvy that money up to where they can sign both of them, where they thought they were going to be able to get a deal. And, maybe they will and maybe they won't. It's something we won't know until 4 o'clock Monday or maybe sometime past whenever they release it. But, look no further than Kumar Rocker last year. He was the 8th overall pick to the Mets. And people kept thinking, 3 days before the deadline, 2 days before, it kept coming out that, there's problems in medical. They don't know if they're going to pay him the money, this, that, and other. And, sure enough, deadline passed, and he ended up not getting signed. He was thrown back out there. Obviously, that wouldn't happen with Jackson Ferris. If he's not signed, he's just going to come to Oxford, and he's going to shove for 3 years, and then he'll go off, and he'll be a top 10 pick after that. So it's probably not going to happen. Like if I had to guess, I would say he ends up signing. They end up getting it done one way or the other. But the fact that we're this close to it, it's something that's worthy keeping an eye on.
Yeah, and is he a draft eligible sophomore if he decided to go college? Is it 2 years or is he 3?
Yeah, that I don't know. You'd have to look at the specific age. I mean, that stuff goes down to the day. Some of them only have to stay 2 years, some of them 3. With him, I'm not sure which one it is. I'd have to do a little more research on that. But still, if you give me 2 years of Jackson Ferris, I'll still take it.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, get more of the SEC by making Locked On SEC your second listen. Every day, Chris Gordy and the local experts, that's me, of Locked On, take you across the SEC in 30 minutes or less. Make Locked On SEC your second listen. Locked On SEC. Derek, thank you so much for coming by and talking baseball. I need you to change over and do what you have to do because we got to start. We got a couple of weeks from hitting the gambling, buddy.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna see what I can't do to turn that page.
All right. Appreciate it, Derek.
All right, buddy. Howdy toddy.
Howdy toddy.